All right. Well, happy, beautiful day, Organo people. I'm Dr. Bob RAKOWSKI with this wonderful Zoom call from Houston, Texas. Sorry for the few-minute glitch on the front end of the time. I've actually been with Organo now for coming up on 6 years. I was actually first introduced to the product by my son, and I had a super high level of skepticism that the coffee could be as good as he said it was. And I also had an extreme skepticism about the business model. But the great news is, over time, I did plenty of research, used the product extensively, started sharing it with my patient base, and since that point in time have been incredibly thrilled with both the company, the opportunity, and certainly the products they've come around with. So one of the questions that I've been asked, and I like it as one to share as an icebreaker as well, I like to ask people, would you be open to trying a healthier cup of gourmet coffee? And nearly everybody's going to say that they're open to that. But what makes it healthier? And we'll get to that later with Ganoderma being within it. But part of my background is I have lectured for some of the top nutrition companies on the planet. I've done that for about 25 years. So I know different aspects or avenues to assess quality control. And in fact, of all the nutraceutical companies that I've lectured for, none of them come anywhere near to having all of the quality certifications that Organo has. So that did enough for me to dot the I's and cross the T's and make me comfortable sharing the products. I did that for about a full year before I even considered joining the business because I really didn't understand the industry of network marketing or direct sales. So to date, I've actually read over 150 books on network marketing. But when you look at it as an industry, on the bottom left of this slide, you can actually see that the year that slide was made in 2012, network marketing did over 167 billion in sales. And you look at the landmark industries, the mammoth industries above it, like the NFL and music and video gaming and movies, etc. The network marketing industry is much bigger than that. So we know it's a legitimate business. And then we start looking at the company. And on the bottom right, there's a picture of Organo's corporate headquarters. And you can actually Google, the stats on how fast companies have crossed $1 billion in sales. But Organo did it faster than companies like Facebook and IBM and McDonald's and Apple and eBay. So the company knows what they're doing in terms of putting out quality product and a quality system. So Organo is a healthier living product, lifestyle and product company. And they started out with coffee and tea, but they later transitioned to things like soap and toothpaste and even nutraceuticals and weight loss and skincare and energy drinks and detox drinks, all of which are best in class. So it makes an easy product to share and for that reason, an easy business, relatively easy in my mind to build. So here is what's our magic ingredient. It's called Ganoderma lucidum. It's actually known as in China, the miraculous king of herbs. You look at some of the data, it says that they may go back as much as 5,000 years of use. It was actually reserved for the royal family. And in fact, it was so cherished and revered that if someone was caught with this herb that was not part of the royal family, first offense, they'd actually cut their arm off. Second offense, they would cut their head off. So very, very treasured and prized. It's been called the herb of spiritual potency. It's also been called the herb of immortality. And so when you look, if you were to study Ganoderma on a medical level, which I've done, I've read over 500 peer-reviewed medical studies on it, I can tell you that there are over 2,000 studies on this incredible herb. So I think if you were to type in PubMed today, and I don't know how many of you are familiar with that, but that's the National Library of Medicine, National Institutes of Health. These are journals written by doctors for doctors, and basically it's data that's solid enough to stand up in a court of law. But if you Google Ganoderma, you'll probably find something like 1,800 medical studies. And then there's two other names for the same herb, reishi and lingqi. And so by the time you throw in all those names, we've got over 2,000 peer-reviewed studies. So we're actually going to start out very, very simple in terms of how we explain how this works. And the picture on the left, the gentleman there is Mr. Holton Buggs. He's Organo's Chief Vision Officer. And just a real powerful individual at sharing these treasures and getting people to improve their health and lifestyle with them. But he just simply tells people, imagine that you have a swimming pool that you haven't taken very good care of. And the water can be pretty dirty and murky and mucky and not anything that you would want to swim in, but with the right type of care, pulling the right things out of the water, adding the right things into the water, you can convert it into something crystal clear and joyful and healthy to swim in. And he says, that's what I like to tell people Ganoderma does within your body. So it's literally going to pull out some bad stuff from your body. It's proven to work with the liver and the kidneys and the lungs and even the skin, and put some really good things into the body as well. So I like to tell people that only one product or one person or one herb can be named the king. So if you look at some other famous kings, if I ask people who was the king of rock and roll, most people know that was Elvis Presley. If I ask who was the king of pop, they would suggest, well, that's Michael Jackson. And so these are people that really own their space, took over their industry and created lasting change. And the king of herbs will do exactly that. By the way, just as an aside, even though Elvis died in the 1970s, his estate still earns over $50 million a year from work he did back then. Michael Jackson passed a handful of years ago. His estate still earns $150 million a year. And I can tell you that this herb, Ganoderma, should do that and more every single year through these incredible products. So if you just want to use the simple mindset that it helps your body clean out and balance, that's a great start. I'm going to go into a little bit more of what it does and why it's so valued as we go through this. But notice that this is both a product and a business presentation. So I always tell people that you're going to fall into one of four categories by the time we're done with this. And one is someone that's going to say no to the product and no to the opportunity. And that's great. We love you anyways, but you probably know someone whose health can benefit or wealth can benefit. And if you could refer them to the person that referred you to this webinar, that'd be great. Some people will say yes to the product, no to the opportunity. That's fine. We love our customers. Some people will say yes to the product and they want to make a small income. And there's other people that say yes to the product and they actually want to break the bank. And if we look at that picture there, and I'm going to expand it through the magic of touch screen, these are actually people on our organic team that have a completely paid for or subsidized Organo Mercedes-Benz. And that's one of the perks of this incredible company. I lectured at a major conference about a decade ago, and there was a world champion up there. And someone asked him, they said, my gosh, you always have so much energy. How do you have so much energy? And his answer was simple. He said, the only way you have energy is to earn energy. And I transitioned that to say, you know what, the only way you have health is actually to earn health. And we need to invest on it in our health on a regular basis. So I've coined the term the Magnificent Seven as it applies to health, but these are my Magnificent Seven. You've got to eat right, drink right, think right, move right, sleep right, and poop right, and talk right every single day. And literally Ganoderma is going to help us with all those things. So when we go with eat right, there's a website which is called superfoodsforsuperhealth.com, and they list what they believe to be the top 10 superfoods on the planet. Now, what is a superfood? A superfood is something that has a super high concentration of nutrients that we need. So, for instance, Ganoderma is known to have all of the fabulous 50, all the vitamins, all the minerals, all the amino acids, all the proteins, carbohydrates, fat, fiber, and water, and at a really, really nice number. So Ganoderma is known to have more calcium than milk, more iron than spinach, more magnesium than broccoli, more omega-3 than tuna, more antioxidants than bilberry, and it's even a complete protein like beans. So very, very powerful there. When we talk about getting this food on a regular basis, certainly the quantities that we have in coffee and tea is going to start supplementing you, but we take it further and we actually give meal replacements, the OGX shakes, which, by the way, are described to taste like liquid birthday cake. And there's plenty of beautiful testimonials before and after of people that the only change they really made in their diet and lifestyle was adding a healthy shake and just watching the pounds melt away. Maybe when there's time afterwards, if someone has questions, there's at least 5 proven mechanisms by which Ganoderma promotes fat loss. And some of the most important are actually its ability to have people feel really, really satisfied. And most people will suggest that after they have a shake like this, they can't even believe how satisfied they are, that they don't even want food for a longer period of time than they would expect. I had a gentleman that started out at 320 pounds, and we put him on 3 different shakes a day, And he said, Bob, you're not going to believe this, but I actually have a hard time getting the third shakedown. These are so satisfying to me. So I always tell people, you know what, experience is going to trump information. If you have not yet tried our amazing shakes, give it a shot and see how amazing your body can feel with it. So believe it or not, we've covered eat right. Now we're going into drink right. Our earth is 2/3 water. Our body is 2/3 water. 2/3 of that water should be inside of our cells. And there's a lot of different type of water that's out there, and they all have different niches and application. But if you go into a supermarket, you might see that they have vitamin water and alkaline water and oxygenated water and smart water and energy water. Well, the amazing thing is when you put Ganoderma into your coffee or tea, now you have some supercharged water because it's got all the vitamins, it's got all the minerals. It's considered the most alkaline food on the planet. It's got well over 100 antioxidants. Within the body, it actually has multiple mechanisms by which it can actually increase oxygen to the tissue, including the most critical tissues like our brain. Since it crosses the blood-brain barrier, and we'll get to smart water soon, it's shown to actually help our brain function better and be a bit more calm. And then finally, in terms of energy, by delivering oxygen and nutrients and pulling out some of the toxins in the body is actually more energized. So after eat right and drink right, we now go into think right. And I really like what Einstein said. He says, if you can't explain it simply enough, you really understand it well enough. And so the simplest, again, explanation is Mr. Bug's explanation. You know what? You either have a dirty swimming pool that's dysfunctional and disgusting, or super clean that can be healthy and nourishing and enjoyable. And that's really what this herb does. But here's a medical study, and there's the reference below. And here's what it says. It says Ganoderma lucidum may be developed as safe and healthy dietary supplements for brain and cognitive health. So when they're talking about supplements, usually people think about taking a handful of pills in order to supplement, and that is available. But the genius of this company is we actually put it in coffee and tea, the top beverages on the planet besides water. And why? Because we use water to make coffee and tea, and people get it multiple times a day and never, ever need to be reminded. So there's plenty of evidence, and we have plenty of testimonials from people that drink it, and some people even feel it within a single cup. You know, they realize that their brain is more relaxed, more calm, their focus is better. They often report an improved memory and an overall sense of well-being. So we've done eat right, drink right, think right. Now we're on to move right, and this is a fun case. And in fact, I may go back a little bit and share with you some of my joys in clinical practice is I've worked with some of the top athletes in the history of the planet. And here's a few of them there. But I've helped them upgrade their nutrition and get the most out of their careers, and in some cases literally extend their earnings by hundreds or at least tens of millions of dollars. But I did the nutrition consult with this individual named Stevie McEwen out of Ireland. And Stevie set 5 different Guinness World Records by running 100 straight marathons in 100 straight days and actually getting stronger and faster along the way. When I did his nutrition consult, I literally shared this medical study, which, by the way, was a combination of both Ganoderma and cordyceps, which is in our red tea. But it actually showed that Ganoderma improved the athlete's testosterone, decreased their stress hormones, and overall dramatically improved the function of these endurance athletes. So, they were able to train better, recover better, sleep better, which we'll get to later. And all that just led to progressive enhancement of their wellness. I've taught international series on sports nutrition, and I can tell you that most of my athletes are going to tell you that they really need their brain working, they need to focus, they need to have fuel to perform, they need to buffer the acid that the body makes, they need to enhance recovery, and basically when they break down tissue, they want to enhance that repair as well. Well, the beautiful thing is there's solid studies that show that Ganoderma can help with all of that. But sometimes we like stories. So the story of Manny Pacquiao, who, by the way, is actually part of our organo business. Mr. Pacquiao was named Fighter of the Decade. He's actually won championships in 10 different divisions. But apparently he wasn't able to drink coffee because it didn't agree with his system. Sometimes it would aggravate his gut. Sometimes it would cause a racing heart. Even though he loved coffee, he said, you know what, I can't drink it. It's not good for me. So someone gave him a cup of the coffee. He expressed his skepticism and concerns, and they said, look, just try it. See what it does for you. He drank the coffee, didn't have any of the negative effects that he typically had, and had some very, very powerful positive effects. The next thing the person told him is, look, you know, there's 3 ways you can get this coffee. You can be a retail customer. I'm happy to sell it to you. You can be a wholesale buyer. That's fine. You can get it at my cost, or you can actually get paid to consume and share this product. Mr. Pacquiao, I don't think he needs the money. In fact, if you look at his net worth, it's in the hundreds of millions. But he's also a humanitarian and a senator in the Philippines. And I think he realized that this product is so good and so many people can benefit from it that he decided to build an organo business, which is exemplary on every front. Some of the other things that our athletes like is our incredible Phoenix XT energy drink. So the beautiful thing about this is it actually has herbs that buffer the aging process so you don't get a quick rise and a fall. You have smooth, lasting energy, which is very, very gentle on the body. So I have plenty of athletes that are in multiple sports, very, very aggressive and strong and hard. And some of these athletes would put stuff in their body that I wouldn't recommend. Some of the leading energy drinks, which are, let's just say, not healthy at all. And when we have them transition to try this one of the first things they say is, you know what, this is so much smoother. It's really, really delicious. I am doing really well with it. How do I get more? And again, that's going to be the same answer. You can be a retail customer, you can be a wholesale buyer, or you can get paid. So when it comes to sleeping right, we literally have a sleep-deprived world. I think it's estimated that about 1/4 of all people worldwide actually have a problem getting a good night's sleep at night. So here's a medical study that shows that when Ganoderma is consumed, people fall asleep faster, they sleep deeper longer, and they wake up more refreshed. And a lot of that is related to the calming aspects that it has on our brain and body, but also just nourishing it and helping it function at every level better. So poop right is my way of saying detoxify right. And I gave a lecture for Organo on stage at their conference called Expo. But literally, when you look at our environment, there are over 80,000 registered toxic chemicals in the environment. The Environmental Protection Agency has done what they call the Human Toxin Inventory. They've actually taken fat samples from cadavers in surgical patients and analyzed them for toxins. And they suggest that everybody walking around has at least 700 toxins in their system at all times. Where this can be even more tragic is they've done studies on umbilical cord blood. They actually looked at newborn infants' blood before they ever took their first breath, and they realized that the average infant was exposed to more than 200 environmental toxins. That certainly can't be good, but if you look at a lot of the brain challenges that we're seeing in our youth, whether it's challenges concentrating or even conditions worse than that, toxins are near the top of the list at what experts think may be causing the problem. The World Health Organization actually suggests that 1/4 of all health problems on planet Earth are related to the toxins that are on our planet. So Organo has come up with an amazing superfood combination detox drink in the Phoenix line called Phoenix DX. And I like to tell people that, you know, when we start talking about detox, we start thinking about the liver and the kidneys and the bowel, and sometimes we think of the skin and the lungs, but there's also the lymphatic system and the blood, and all these things need to be cleaned, and we need immune support. So the company Organo has put together a combination of incredible herbs in a delicious form that gives the body what it needs to detoxify in a very gentle way. So we've gone through eat right, drink right, think right, move right, sleep right, poop right. Now we're on talk right. And understand that our cells are literally made, our bodies are made of hundreds of trillions of cells. And every one of these cells is in communication with every other cell every single day. One of the major communication systems in our body is actually our immune system, and it's looking out to protect us. But we know that the immune system can get out of balance. And when it does, there can actually be too much attack on foreign substances, and they could actually call that an allergy type response. There could be too much attack on our own tissue. That is what's considered an autoimmune response. There can be too little defense on foreign products and particles, and that can give us an infection, or too little defense inside, and sadly that actually can be cancer. So in Canada, they actually have the claim on the Organo products that it's actually an immune enhancer, or really a balancing agent. And on the left of this, we show a lot of different PubMed citations where Ganoderma is proven against some of the worst bugs that we've seen and some of the worst internal conditions. So again, we don't ever want to make any types of claims or tell people to switch over to something as a substitute for medical treatment or intervention. But we do know that this herb is incredibly proven effective to do a great job for the immune system. So now what makes our product different? Well, we use organic, proven methods to harvest our product. And ours are naturally grown in the natural environment. And on the right is actually what that looks like. And that's a pretty long process to grow that. So there's a lot of companies that will actually grow their Ganoderma in plastic bags. And if you don't know how to ask the question, you don't know where your Ganoderma came from. But Organo is actually the world's largest supplier of naturally grown organic Ganoderma. And a picture is absolutely worth 1,000 words. And I would just ask you the question, which of these would you rather put in your body? I don't imagine anybody would say this one, right? Everybody's going to go with this. So now, when we're finished with our presentation, we're going to open it up for questions and certainly health questions as well. But let me just summarize the health. Ganoderma is the top superfood on the planet by a number of references. It's the most alkaline food on the planet by a number of references. It's been called the king of herbs, the herb of immortality. There's even medical studies that show that Ganoderma actually induces stem cells within our bodies. And so there's a lot of ways that it can keep us healthier, younger, for a longer period of time. And even in animal studies, it can show to extend life. So the question is, if you're going to take care of your body without Ganoderma, you're going to be more in the direction of this picture, with it more in the direction of the cleaner swimming pool. So now, when we start talking about investing, we've got some really great people on our team and some bank vice presidents and people that really understand finance. And I'm always a fan of reaching up when I don't understand a certain industry and looking out to experts and see, okay, is this a good investment? So my patients who are best in investing say, these are the things you want to look at. 1, is the company stable? 2, do they have a unique product? 3, is there a substantial market? 4, is it profitable? And last but not least, is it easy? Because complexity creates problems. And I'd have to ask, what's easier than sharing a cup of coffee with a friend? But we already showed this. The company crossed $1 billion faster than Facebook, eBay, Apple, Microsoft, IBM, McDonald's, right? It did an absolutely amazing job. They were founded in 2008, so we're now in their 10th year. So the company's solid. They're here to stay. They actually have a patented process by which they infuse Ganoderma into their coffee and tea. Now, this is really, really important because anybody could get a mushroom and put filings of it in a coffee or tea. But reality is the way that they've done it, they maximize the delivery of the nutrition and they maintain and even enhance the incredible flavor of coffee and tea. Most people that switch over to it notice a difference within a cup or two. And in my 6 years with the company, I have not yet found a single person that after switching over for a 1 or 2 week trial did not realize that there was a health benefit to this coffee or tea. So when we look at the coffee industry, this is the journal Business Insider. And what they will tell you is that coffee is really a universal substance. They call it ubiquitous. No other beverage, they say, is revered or as respected. And actually the world, and I'm going to move this down because I see my picture covering that up, the world consumes 1 trillion cups every couple of years. Most people can't even begin to fathom how big a number 1 trillion is. So this is literally a street in Washington and some of our buildings and an airplane. And this is $1 trillion in bills stacked up on top of one another. It's been said if you were to stack $1 trillion just flat on top of one another, it would literally, if it were $1 bills, would stack 1/3 the way to the moon. Another reference, go back about 2,000 years, basically about the time when Jesus was born, maybe 2,018 years ago. If you spent $1 billion a day from the year 0 all the way to now, you would not have even come close to $1 trillion. Only $700 billion. So big market, a lot of use. The company itself is now in over 50 countries. And I believe they set records in the direct sales industry at getting that done that fast. But this is Shane Moran, our global master distributor, who gets a lot of the credit for bringing this coffee into all these countries. But here's what he would say. I've talked to people that he's actually introduced to the business, and he said, what if it's true that our coffee tastes as good or better than the brand that people are already drinking? What if it's true that our coffee is less expensive? And in fact, if people are Starbucks customers or McDonald's cafe customers, Dunkin' Donuts customers, if they're a wholesale buyer or even a retail buyer, it's less expensive than what they're already doing. What if our coffee is more convenient? We literally just add hot water. I can carry multiple cups of coffee around every single day in my pocket. You certainly can't do that with Starbucks or McDonald's. And finally, what if it's true that our coffee has nearly unmatched health benefits? If those things are true, and they all are, would it be reasonable to capture 1% of the world coffee market, 1% of those trillion cups that are sold every couple of years? So I literally had an economics professor in an opportunity meeting that I was doing in Montreal a few years ago. He was in the front row, and I had talked to him beforehand, but I looked at him and asked him, Professor, what would your life be like if you had 1% of the world coffee market? He looked at me and said, Dr. Bob, if I had 1% of the world coffee market, I would have Bill Gates type money. So that's the type of market that we are able to capture and literally dominate with multiple competitive advantages. So let's just see if you think you could actually do this business. So here's the things you have to do. Number one, could you use the products? That's actually easy enough, right? So believe it or not, even if you're not a coffee or tea drinker, you could take the nutraceuticals. Even if you don't do that, you're going to brush your teeth on a regular basis. You're going to wash your face. We have the incredible soap and toothpaste. Our shakes, which promote excellent body composition, taste like liquid birthday cake. And then, of course, we've got other things coming down the road. And we have our detox drink and energy drink, but these things are absolutely amazing. So it's relatively easy to use the products. There's a little bit of something for everybody. And then number two, you've already been recommending things that you like to your friends and group for your entire life. We've all recommended movies, restaurants, maybe places to go vacation, cars to drive, whatever. If you like it, you would be very, very comfortable in recommending it to your friends. And then item number three, invite people to just take a look. I like to take the stress out of it. If you invited people to this brief Zoom meeting, you invited them to just take a look. Let's see what the product offers. Let's see what the company offers. And let's see if it makes sense to use the products or possibly build a business. I like this question. If you really, really, really tried, do you think over a certain period of time, and it might be a month or 2 months or 6 months, that you could find 5 people that might be interested in the opportunity? Now understand that Organo is going to have a health opportunity call like this every single week with people that have different expertise. So my expertise is the health benefits, and I plan to expand further on that in the future as we share. Miss Marianne Node also has health expertise, but we have a couple other people that are experts in the retail sales, like Miss Nikki Idetta and Miss Casey Nielsen Martin, who's absolutely expert at sharing the business. But with our help, do you think over a period of time that you could find 5 people that would be interested in building the business? So let's say it took you 6 months, which by the way, most people say, yeah, if I tried, I could do that, right? But so in your first part of the business, you get 5 people in. We'll just call that layer 1. Then your next thing to do is actually ask the same thing of them. Can you get 5 people who are interested in growing the business? And we'll do that again and again and again. So your team begins to build as you go. But by the time you get to this 5th layer at 5 at a time, and understand you do it a lot faster if you do 10 at a time and slower if you do 2 at a time, but ultimately you can get there, you'll have approximately 4,000 people on your team. And I like to tell people, you know what, if these 4,000 people just used it for their personal use, that's it. If they just had 2 cups of coffee a day and it was black coffee, their total volume of coffee moving through their organization would be well over $100,000 a month. The average distributor in Organo gets between 8 and 12% of their total team volume. If we use 10% as an easy to calculate number of 100,000, we would see that people would be earning about $10,000 a month like this. Now, that's a number that can often turn a lot of heads and even create skepticism. And it did for me too. And the great news is I literally saw my son qualify for his first Mercedes-Benz with Organo 6 months into the business. And then later on, my wife qualified for it, and members of our team have done the exact same thing. So it's pretty amazing what can be done with this business. So remember our question, right? We came back and said you're going to be one in 4 categories. By this point, you may know if you're interested in the product or the business. If you're not interested in either, great, we still love you. If you know someone that we can help with better health or better wealth, send them our way. Some of you might say, you know what, I'm ready to try the products. Awesome. Connect with whoever sent you to this and get some products from them. Some people will say yes to the business and want a small amount of income, and I'll explain why we differentiate that in just a moment. And then there's people that say, yes, I like the business and I actually want to break the bank. And so these are all Mercedes from our business. It's actually my son Jacob on his second Benz, my wife Kelly with her third, me in the middle, and other wonderful team members. I got to tell you, it's just such a fun business. But the company starts out with 3 different product packs. And I realize that we're talking in a lot of different countries at this point, so I can tell you that I know that the packs are different, for instance, in Europe and especially in England. But here in the States, we start out with 3 packs. We have a bronze pack, and for that, you actually $250 worth of product. And you get that product at wholesale cost. I usually tell people we have a phone script that we can go over, and most people ought to be able to sell out their bronze pack before it comes in with a few hours of phone calls. The next step up is the silver pack. That's going to give you $450 worth of wholesale products at $450. And then the gold pack is $1,250 worth of wholesale products. And again, all these things, if you're ambitious, can be mostly sold or sampled before your product even comes in. And on top of that, everybody buys a website. So you might ask, and that's $50 a year. So why would we go with a bigger pack? Well, the company's pretty smart. They give you incentive. If you actually make the bigger investment up front in the gold pack, they pay you more ways and a higher percentage as you build. And on some of the ways of getting paid, you'll literally get paid more than twice as much as the bronze pack. The silver pack is right in between. So in the end, I generally like to ask people 4 questions. And these actually came from James Allen's book, As a Man Thinketh. But here are the 4. First question is, why? Why did you take the time here and now today to be on this webinar? There's a lot of other things you could have done. Second question is the answer to the first. Why not? Why not look at something that it's pretty much a guarantee that if you consume it consistently, your health is going to improve. And if you share it consistently, your wealth is going to improve. The third question is why not you? Someone's going to realize and recognize the opportunity. They're going to get better, stronger, faster, smarter every single day and start building an income stream that is very difficult to match in many other business opportunities. And then the final question is why not now? And the reality is the longer you wait to act on information, the least likely you are to act on it. So I'm going to go back to one of my very first slides and let you know that when I was introduced to this business, I didn't have any need for another business. So I've got a cutting-edge, very lucrative clinical practice, both chiropractic and clinical nutrition. I teach seminars all over the world. I do a number of webinars and podcasts. My wife and I dabble in real estate. And of course, we've got a beautiful family that we enjoy spending time with. So I wasn't interested in adding another item to my plate, but I'm very happy to say in 5 years of my wife and I building the business, and 6 years of using the product, we now have a revenue stream from Organo that exceeds all of our other or any of our other successful businesses. So with full confidence, I can share it with you and tell you that, you know what, start consuming the product, you're going to feel better in some way. That's pretty much a given. And if you join our business and plug in, wealth can absolutely be yours. So with that said, we can now open it up to questions and answers. And so, Mr. Edward Vargas, do you have a way of bringing people in to see if we can move them in for Q&A?
Hi, Bob. Let's see. I think you can see the list of the people that have questions. They're being texting. There's actually Johnny Woolman that has a question. Say, hi, Dr. Bob. Do you have any testimonials on Graves' disease, also called base dose disease, I think? I don't know if you can see that message.
Well, those are actually different diseases. So there's actually something known as the Jod-Basedow phenomena, and that is a hyperactive thyroid in response to a overdose of iodine, usually from medical contrast conditions. Graves is an autoimmune thyroid circumstance. And so I'm going to see if I can trade a new screen on for you, but literally there's a PubMed study that shows that really Ganoderma and cordyceps are the things that are known to normalize the immune system. So here we get into a little regulatory statement. We can't really make a health claim, and so we won't. But Johnny, one of the things I'll tell you is that as an immune enhancer, this is an immune modulator, and red tea works really, really well. So have I seen people in my own clinical practice respond to similar circumstances with red tea and other things, which, by the way, there are other things. And I don't know how far out of bounds we get with that. But there's medical studies that show that it can be safe and effective. But remember, when dealing with a significant health circumstance like autoimmune thyroid and Graves' disease, it's always best to have the medical practitioner, the primary doctor, involved in the case. But there's good data that it could help. Any other questions?
Good. Yeah. Can you see the messages in your end?
I can't. Maybe there's a way you can help me. So let's try to figure that out.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not seeing the messages. I wish I could. So maybe you could read it to me.
Okay. No worries. Then we have Lisette from San Juan, Texas. Her question is, how good is this for kids in general?
Well, we're not going to have anything that's not going to be safe and effective. So when we look at, we're in over 53 countries, and there's no warning label about overconsumption or continuous use. So it is profoundly effective. So when you start looking at the royal family, they consumed it on a regular basis for probably their entire life. The company Organo now is going into their 10th year, and the people that have been since the beginning have been consuming Ganoderma daily for that period of time. Myself, 6 straight years, and no known downside to it. It's remarkably good. We have the hot chocolate, which is really well formulated for kids, and my own clinical experience tells us that it's good for kids that may be a little bit overactive or have racing minds. It's often very calming to them, help them get a better night's sleep, and maybe do a little better in school.
Okay, the next one is let me see, I had it right here. Okay, so Annie Roldan is asking, I would like to know about the impact in my autoimmune disease called Hashimoto's.
Yeah, so I'm going to make the same statement. So it's an immune normalizer. So the combination of Ganoderma and cordyceps, which is in the red tea, has actually been shown to have a positive impact on the antibodies in Hashimoto's. But again, you've got to connect with your primary doctor. I recommend certainly getting your antibodies tested. This is a call specifically for Organo, and we'll keep it at that. But if there's a way, maybe at another point in time, if someone needs a little more of my information, maybe you can get it from Organo, and I can share with you strategies in additional to Organo that we've successfully helped people manage these cases and improve.
Okay.
And you know what? I think I now have found a way to get the chats.
Okay,
so
perfect.
Let's see. So let's look. How good for kids? Hashimoto's. Do you have evidence that this product, even the coffee, is pregnancy or breastfeeding safe? So there was a study years ago that came out of Harvard, and it actually showed that if people consumed a couple of cups of coffee a day, there was a small risk, really just a few % risk of a low birth weight baby. And so they said, you know what, we probably want to err on the side of safe and not do that. So when it comes to pregnancy, if your doctor says coffee is okay for you, then coffee is okay. The herb is incredibly safe, but again, we live in this litigious society. We have to go across the board and have people go back to their medical people. Now when it comes to breastfeeding, whatever mom consumes, baby's going to get. And so whatever she's taking, whether it's the Ganoderma, she's going to get that through her breast milk as well. And so, you want to actually be safe about experimenting. Don't change your diet too much as you start nursing. Make subtle changes and see where it goes, but always turn it back to the primary care. So my daughters now are, approaching childbearing, or actually they're in childbearing years. In fact, my youngest is getting married next year. And so would I recommend that for her during pregnancy? Absolutely. For nursing? Absolutely. There's really good evidence that, when we clean mom's swimming pool like that, we're going to clean baby's swimming pool. But again, I always have to legally turn it back to the primary healthcare provider. So let's see, it looks like Johnny again, to all panelists, perfect, was wondering which product to offer them. It's going to be the red tea, Johnny, for the autoimmune thyroid. If any, how does Ganoderma help with hormonal disbalance in blood types with the adrenals, thyroid, estrogen, and liver? Boy, Maria, that's a great question. And let's just go at it from a relatively, I'll call it a superficial way of saying it. So one of the things that Ganoderma is known is to actually alkalize the body. Now, in 25 years of clinical practice and working with everything from really elite athletes to really sick patients, I can tell you that one of the things that universally seems to help is actually by alkalizing their body and by detoxifying their body. And Ganoderma does both of those. Now, let's tie it into hormones. So literally, there's a study that shows that as the body becomes more acid, it'll tell you that every hormone in the body, every enzyme in the body is pH dependent. And I'll give you a quote from the literature, medical literature. It says, beyond a given pH set point, it may take twice as much of the same hormone to produce an equal response from the tissue. So here's what that says. If your body's too acid, which is where most people lean, or nearly everybody leans, then their hormones are going to be inefficient. So just by alkalizing them, that's going to work a little better. If we can support detox, that's going to work a little bit better. If we can get them sleeping better, believe it or not, that'll be less stress hormones in their system. There's actually evidence that the herb is really powerful at modulating inflammation by at least 5 different mechanisms. That will buffer the stress hormones as well. So there's a lot of different mechanisms by which this would work. So now Lisette says, I would like to share that it helped me and my father for 5 years consuming organo for me to donate a kidney to him and for him to be the healthy recipient. Well, God bless you for doing that. That's awesome. I'm glad you're both doing well with that. So let's see. Let's see, your dad is now 3 years with a kidney transplant. I might ask you, Lisette, to put in comments if he's been consuming the product because that's, getting something that supports the immune system is considered controversial with organ transplant. And later on, if it's indicated, I'll pull up Organo's official company statement on that. Let's see, it says, someone asked, to balance your body, what is the recommended capsule intake? It's going to be individual case to case. So, by the way, the very first book that I wrote a foreword to, and I've written forewords to over 20 books, is a book called Herbal Virtues. And here's the first line in that foreword. There's a synergy in nature that can't be duplicated and can't be isolated. So when we use the different parts of the plant, when we use the Ganoderma lucidum, which is the flowering body, the Ganoderma mycelium, which is the root system, the Ganoderma spores, we get a different combination that has powerful synergy. And the company's been very solid to know that grapeseed extract is also synergistic with those. So literally, most people are going to see a real nice difference by taking one each of the capsules every single day. If people are dealing with significant health circumstances, then we up the dose. But in significant circumstances, we certainly want to turn them back to their primary healthcare provider. So Lois, hello Lois. You mentioned stem cell growth with Ganoderma. Can you speak more on that? I'm speaking with the doctor who's performing stem cell therapies. Yeah, so quite simply, 2017, and it may be the journal Stem Cell Research has a PubMed study that actually shows that Ganoderma induces the body to create more stem cells. It's been called the herb of immortality, right? And for that reason, stem cells may be a reason why we can live better longer with that. And animal studies do show that. When animals consume Ganoderma versus those that don't, in really well-controlled studies, the animals that get the Ganoderma live 9 to 20% longer. And the article actually says, if we could extrapolate that to human years, it would be about 7 to 16 extra human years. So finally, the final statement as I'm seeing it listed, so as I understand the tea is better than the coffee for people with Hashimoto's. I like the coffee and I'm already consuming. Take it. You know, the coffee's great. So that particular study was a combination of Ganoderma and cordyceps. But Ganoderma is an immune normalizer. So I guess it's Annie Red. I have not seen the name Annie Red. That's a beautiful name, Annie Red. All one name. But at any rate, everything we do is, I tell patients, is a clinical trial. So you should measure your antibodies with a qualified professional, know where you're at, and then do an intervention, like drinking good coffee, maybe taking some capsules, and see where your body goes. So with that said, I'm going to finish with the 4 questions again as I sign off for this beautiful day. But we've had a really nice group with lots of great questions and great numbers for our very first flagship launch. I'm honored that Organo invited me to share today. I promise to bring in more information each time, better information each time, and always, always, always grow my game at sharing and delivering. And I would love for you to bring as many people as you can to this call, because Organo has made a great investment so that we literally are not limited in how many people we can share these treasures with. So the first question, why? Why'd you take the time today? Second question, why not? You can learn something that can make a massive difference in your wellness and your financial wellness. Third question, why not you? Someone's going to get inspired. They're going to share this information. They're sharing the product. They're going to enhance lives. And some are going to share the business opportunity, and they're going to help people create the lives of their dreams. And then the final question is, why not now? And here's the reality. The longer we wait to act on information, the least likely we are to act on it. Take action right now. Everybody should get back to whoever invited them on this and tell them you're either a 1, 2, 3, or 4. 1 says, I'm not interested in either. Thanks for the invite. 2 says, I like the product. I want to try it. No interest in business now. Cool, get some product. A 3 is, I like it and I want to build small. And for you, we can get by with the bronze pack or the silver pack. But for those that want to build it big, silver or preferably the gold pack is the way to go. So with that said, I'm going to turn control over to our amazing Mr. Edward Vargas, who is just such an incredible servant leader with Organo and always going the extra mile. I thank you for making this so easy to share. And I'm Dr. Bob Rakowski, knowing that we can all be healthy, happy, and successful. Thank you for sharing this beautiful time with me. Bye for now.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us in today's call. The next host we're going to have is going to be Nikki Aidera next Monday. So follow us in social media, and then you will get more information there, okay? Until next time, thank you so much.